Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The Met Police has confirmed it's received initial contact from the BBC over claims a male presenter paid a teenager for sexually explicit images. They've also said that no formal referral or allegation has been made. It's also said we will require additional information before determining what further action should follow. Well, earlier, the young person's mother told The Sun she saw a photo of the man in his underwear on her child's phone. The Director General, Tim Davie, has confirmed the BBC was aware of a complaint in May and has been investigating the case ever since. In a statement, he also condemned the unsubstantiated rumours being made on the internet about some of the corporations presenting talent. More than 1,000 people have crossed the English Channel on small boats over the past 2 days. The Home Office says over 600 people were intercepted on Friday and almost 400 made the journey yesterday. Despite storm warnings, conditions are calm, and GB News understands more than 200 people have already been intercepted this morning. It brings this year's total to 12,700. The Home Office says the number of people risking their lives is unacceptable. The US President is on his way to the UK. He's due to arrive this evening at Stansted Airport. Joe Biden will meet the King at Windsor Castle tomorrow before holding talks with the Prime Minister at Downing Street. He's expected to raise concerns about Brexit and America's decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine. Well, Joe Biden's visit comes ahead of the NATO summit in Lithuania, where the Prime Minister will urge allies to bolster their defence spending. Speaking in Vilnius on Tuesday, Rishi Sunak's expected to say we're seeing unprecedented security challenges. The UK remains one of the few NATO members meeting the alliance's requirement to spend at least 2% of national income on defence. Police say they're investigating a possible hate-related incident in County Tyrone. It's after the Irish flag and a picture of the Premier, Leo Varadkar, was placed on top of a bonfire. There was also a boat with a banner which read, "Good Friday Agreement, that ship has sailed." The pyre was later set alight. PSNI Chief Inspector John Kears says evidence is now being gathered to establish whether a criminal offence has been committed. Just Stop Oil has denied any involvement in the stunt at the former Chancellor's wedding yesterday. The group posted a video of a woman throwing orange confetti at George Osborne and his wife Thea Rogers, but it's now saying it wasn't responsible. Just Stop Oil, however, applauded the move, which generated publicity for its cause. TV, online, DAB+, radio and on TuneIn. You're with GB News. Now it's over to Free Speech Nation.
An activist at Trans Pride calls on the crowd to punch feminists, the Crown Prosecution Service goes woke, and the Archbishop of York claims that the Our Father is offensive. This is Free Speech Nation. Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. This is the show where we look at culture, current affairs and politics. And of course, we're going to have the latest from those lovable culture warriors. If you've not seen the clip of a lone eco-zealot ruining the former Chancellor George Osborne's wedding yesterday, that will definitely ruffle some feathers. But also, coming up on the show tonight, widely dubbed as Britain's strictest head teacher, Katharine Birbalsingh joins us to explain why she's accused the Labour MP Jess Phillips of racist and bullying behaviour after a Twitter row sparked by the death of Tina Turner. There's a lot to unpack there. We're going to be joined by the founders of LGB Alliance, who of course won their case against the trans charity Mermaids this week, who are attempting to strip them of their charitable status. And comedian Andrew Lawrence will be here to give us a taste of his upcoming stand-up tour, his first since being cancelled following accusations of racist jokes. And of course, myself and my fantastic panel will be answering questions from our beautiful studio audience. All that and much more tonight on Free Speech Nation. My studio guests this evening are Diane Spencer and Bruce Devlin. I must say, we have a very attractive audience tonight, because normally they can be a bit hit and miss, but this lot are lovely, aren't they?
Oh, some of the faces in here could have stopped trains. So tonight, genuinely, is an absolute delight. So well done, everyone, for your genetics.
You weren't supposed to comment on how people look.
Oh, this is GB News. We can do what we want. But let's get some questions from the viewers. Let's see if their intellect matches their looks. OK, so we're going to go... We've got a question from Michael. Where's Michael? Hello, Michael.
Oh, pretty but dumb.
Don't prejudge, Bruce. We haven't heard
Is the word father offensive?
Is the word father offensive? I presume this is about the Archbishop of York. Of course, this week, you'll know this if you've been following the news, the Archbishop of York has said that the Our Father, the prayer that we all say, could be problematic. He said it could have patriarchal connotations. Well, yeah. It's called the Our Father, right? So that inherently has patriarchal connotations. Why are they doing that, Diane? I mean, is it...
Well, I mean, it's quite interesting because they should really look at the whole speech, because if you mishear things... I used to think it was Our Father who does art in heaven, and I was like, that sounds great!
Not a religious child, then?
But I tried, I just flunked it.
OK.
I mean, what you've got now is you've got, like, a group of people who are like... Oh, no, I think that God belongs to me, and so I'm going to be a lady priest.
Right.
And I'm going to say that Our Father, well, we all know secretly it's just a universal being that probably hasn't got male genitalia or could have everybody's genitalia.
I don't think people are actually saying that God is either male or female, but the point is there's a kind of tradition, there's a convention that they address him as Our Father, because otherwise it gets confusing. If you're going to start using gender-neutral pronouns...
Oh, yeah, so what would you say? Our almighty... Yeah, but our almighty being is pretty... You know exactly who you're talking to as a pronoun.
I don't know. Do you find it sexist, Bruce, to refer to God as a he?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of grew up thinking Jesus wasn't my friend, so I haven't had much more to do. Yeah, like, that's just
that's
the way
more
of
to
it.
do with your background, isn't it?
I think it's to do with some of my hobbies and interests at the factory. But, yeah, so I'm just like, really... And it's kind of like, where are people getting all this time?
Well, there's that.
Like, really?
But I also don't understand why an archbishop is raised. I get it from the activists and all the rest of it, but I don't understand why an archbishop does it.
It's because they haven't got much of a... Their congregation is getting smaller and smaller. And,
oh, it's PR.
Yeah,
it is PR.
It's PR.
Massive PR, like, because...
Well, we're all talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it now. They want to get people into the church and they're saying, oh, look, it's not as strict as it used to be. See, look, God could be in anything.
We're cool and trendy.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to sell that. Are they the Church of England?
Not in those dresses,
no,
they're not.
It's not going to work. OK, we're going to move on to a question now from Gareth. Who is Gareth? You're Gareth. Hello, Gareth. What's your question?
Should white pupils be excluded from certain classes?
Yeah, so this is... No, that sounds mad. But there was a case this week. This is a primary school in Haringey where they were basically putting on these Saturday school places for children, but they said that the only children who could be there were people who were from ethnic minority groups. Now, Bruce, my problem with this is, I think we need to just stop hyper-racialising absolutely everything, particularly when it comes to kids, right? If there are kids who need extra support, extra lessons at the weekend, why do we have to single them out according to race? Why not just single them out according to their needs?
Well, I was a child who I feel was failed by the education system.
Weren't we all?
No, seriously, I do, though. So I don't understand any level of segregation, and I completely agree with you, to help people that need help.
Yeah.
Not because of, what they identify as, or, their religion, or their colour, or any of that kind of stuff. I think it's ridiculous.
It's very interesting the way that the sort of identitarian movement works is that it does tend to see people in terms of their group identity before anything else, before their individuality. And the problem with that, of course, Diane, is that actually white kids are doing pretty badly on the grand scheme of things if you want to divide it up racially. But I wouldn't even go that. I wouldn't even do that. I'd say, look, why don't we just, treat kids as kids?
This is absolutely appalling. I'm sorry, but it is, because having been a teacher, you were a teacher as well.
I was.
A teacher. You know that literacy is an issue for a lot of children.
Yeah.
And also in these classes, they specifically said black and black heritage. So that does also exclude Asian children, Indian children, any European children. It excludes so many kids. And they're saying, oh, we're going to read books about black authors. Why can't all the other kids read books by black authors?
Well, exactly. I mean,
it's just bizarre.
The kids don't like this either. So a friend of mine who's a teacher, because I have a lot of teacher friends because I used to be a teacher, and he got in touch with me recently and said this person came in from outside the school, this sort of activist speaker, and came in and basically picked out all the black kids, took them out of the room and sat them down to explain to them how oppressed they all were and how they were oppressed by their white peers. And so these kids were really annoyed because they're like, we're not oppressed, and why aren't our friends allowed in this conversation? And then the white kids were upset because why have you taken our friends out of the room? And this woman woman was basically going around, basically deciding on the basis of people's skin colour whether they should be removed. How does she know? I mean, people could be mixed race. They could, I mean,
yeah, but also, like, she had technically oppressed them because everybody else could go to break.
Right,
so
well, exactly.
she was causing the oppression by saying, right, all the black kids have to stay behind while I lecture them, and they're all going, this is our break time,
I think the kids see through it. I think the kids see through it, and I think they think it's racist. Because I think it is.
Well, what was she wearing?
Well, yes,
What was she wearing?
it was an offensively beige A-line skirt.
Oh, I can imagine it was some kind of hideous pinafore.
Yeah. OK, we're going to move on to a question from Amelia. Where is Amelia? Hi, Amelia.
Hi. Has EastEnders become too woke?
EastEnders is not my favourite show, I have to be honest, but I have heard that it's become quite woke. Well, at least that's one of the explanations, because this week there was this story that people are just turning off in their droves. Now, I didn't realise this, but apparently in their heyday, EastEnders got something like 30 million views. Now it's down to under 1 million.
Oh, wow.
People are sort of saying that, you know, they're introducing all these sort of preachy, what they call woke storylines, effectively sort of telling people, you know, that you need to be educated on diversity, equity and inclusion and everything. People just want to watch, you know, people murdering each other and blowing
People
up
want to watch Den and Angie and Rolly, the poodle.
Yes.
Yes, that's them when they were getting 30 million when they were getting divorced at Christmas. And believe it or not, due to the Botox, I am old enough to remember those episodes.
So you have watched this show?
I was a strange child, right? And I used to watch EastEnders on a Tuesday and a Thursday and then the Omnibus on a Sunday just to see if anything changed. And
well, it's very layered, Bruce, so you might have missed something.
I lived as Dot and Ethel and Willie the Pug. Yeah, and then when we got a fridge, me and my cousin Mary, and this is no word of a lie, had a drinks dispenser, quite fancy for Dundee back in the 80s, and we used to sit and jam it as though it was an optic, pretending that we were drunk on gin. And then, when I was back in the character of Ethel, I had a soda stream, I know, because we were well off, and I used to make non-alcoholic stout with Coke and milk, and that's why I had diarrhoea.
So, can I just say...
No word of a lie.
None of that means anything to me, because I don't know who these characters are or what they were doing.
So, OK, I used to work for a soap opera.
Yes.
I was on the storyline team, and a lot of it is led by the producers. Like, you can work for weeks and weeks building up a storyline, and then a producer can just saunter in, holding his little dog, and go, jailbreak, go, and then walk out, and you're like, oh, my God.
Is that what's happened here? Because, I mean, a lot of people have accused the BBC of being sort of captured ideologically and being very preachy. And the thing is, audiences don't like it. They don't like being preached at.
Well, no, but also the way that we consume television has changed. And, for example, EastEnders is not competing with, like, only 4 other channels.
No.
EastEnders is now competing against on-demand programmes, but also, if you want drama, you would go to something like Love Island. You know, you would go to something more interactive.
Or the Duke of Wellington.
Or the Duke of Wellington.
Yes.
Why?
Is that a show?
It's a gay bar.
Oh.
There's plenty drama in there any night of the week.
OK. Well, let's put that on the back burner. We're going to move on to a question from Joe. Where's Joe? Hi.
Are trans activists getting more violent?
Yeah, I mean, this has been fascinating, because it's been a weird year for the activists, because, you know, we've seen the Let Women Speak events where a 72-year-old woman was punched in the face, had her skull fractured. The activists are using a lot of violent rhetoric and everything, but this week we've had this Trans Pride. Yesterday it was a huge march. I think it was up to 25,000 people, and people were giving speeches. And this clip has gone viral. I think we've got the clip here. Can we have a look at this?
I was going to come here and be really fluffy and be really nice and say, yeah, be really lovely and queer and gay. No, if you see a punch him in the face.
Now, of course, we've had to bleep out the swear words, but the individual in question is talking about what they call TERFs, gender-critical people, people who believe, in other words, that there are differences between men and women, in other words, 99% of the population. This person thinks it's perfectly appropriate to punch feminists in the face. But what disturbs me, not so much the loon who's making this statement, but everyone cheering. This is a mainstream event with police there, it's supported by the Mayor of London, and all of a sudden you get these people cheering, saying, yeah, violence is great.
Well, it's all to do with their worldview, because it's a faith. It is a faith. I mean, you yourself have written a book, The New Puritans. It's about how this sort of ideology is locked into their mind, and they will defend it if violence is necessary.
Yes.
And it's just a shame that they can't come at you with an argument, because if they actually sort of sat down and you had some kind of calm debate, you might rock their worldview.
It's so
and they
strange.
don't even want to enter into a conversation.
Because they say things like misgendering is a form of violence, whereas punching women in the face, that's not. That's fine. In fact, that's just self-defence, according to their worldview. This is a problem, isn't it, Bruce? Because if, you know, they're not going to win people over to their cause if they're threatening violence and actually performing violence.
No, and genuinely, violence is never the answer. It was like Charles and Camilla were up in Scotland last week. I think he was being inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something. And I remember there was when he'd just become king, he was up in Edinburgh and someone had thrown an egg at him.
I remember.
And I'd said, oh, you know, whatever you think of the royal family, I don't think that's right. I don't think you should do that. And they went, no, abolish the monarchy. And I said, OK, because at that time Nicola was still in power. And I said, so if someone threw an egg at no, you can't do that. And it's like, well, you can't pick one. It can't be the right kind of bad thing, if you see what I mean.
If you legitimise violence on one side of the argument, you can't then complain when it comes back. And that is the spiral.
And I just don't think it should happen at all.
Of course not. So, look, we've got time for just one more question. This is from Matt. Hi, Matt. Hi.
Evening. Whose side are you on, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk?
Oh, right. I'm on my own side.
Well, look, you know, this is interesting because, of course, you know, I think that Twitter was getting a bit out of control with the whole censorship thing. And so when Elon Musk bought it, I think it did improve it hugely. And I think people who had been banned, satirical accounts, comedians, they were able to come back on and all of that. And now, of course, we've got Threads. And Threads is Mark Zuckerberg's attempt to, I suppose, mimic Twitter, is it?
Yes.
But the thing is, Diane, I don't want to learn a new thing, right? So I don't want to go onto Threads. I can't be bothered with it. I'm just sticking with Twitter. However, I know it's a cesspit. But, you know, I know the rules.
Yeah, but Threads is very much like Twitter. And out of the two of them, I mean, I know that Mark Zuckerberg is learning jiu-jitsu, but he's Mark Zuckerberg. Like, he just, like, nobody's going to actually hit him, are they? Nobody's going to actually fight him.
Maybe one of these radical people from the previous clip.
Yeah, the radical trans activists might give him a slap. But...
and that's what I would agree with.
Where Elon Musk has got the psycho gene, because Elon Musk has historically always overpromised and under-delivered. Like, where is my Hyperloop, Elon Musk? It doesn't exist.
Oh, well, he was also talking about putting microchips in people's brains so that we are sort of half cyborg.
Yeah, right?
I might enjoy that, actually, you know, because you get infinite knowledge. You've got access to the web immediately.
Oh, yeah, but
I
also...
know a magician who's got a Bluetooth chip in his ear because he fell over and damaged an eardrum.
Is
that the kind of same thing?
I think that's a different thing.
Fair enough.
I think that's like a posh hearing aid.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, you can wear clip-on earrings, no worries.
Are you going to join Threads?
I have joined Threads.
Oh,
I've joined it.
Is it any good?
No, it's rubbish.
There we go.
It's absolute rubbish. Seriously, you can't send direct messages, you can't zoom in on people's profiles, pictures, and any of that kind of stuff.
Well, look, there's the review from Bruce Devlin, and I trust his judgment. Coming up this hour, the founders of LGB Alliance, Bev Jackson and Kate Harris, will be here as they celebrate retaining their charitable status. But first, let's see how the weather's looking.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just being sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too, and under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14-15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing. But again, some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
So that was our Oracle giving you the lowdown on the elements. And up next on Free Speech Nation, often dubbed as Britain's strictest head teacher, Katharine Birbalsingh joins us to explain why she's accused the Labour MP Jess Phillips of racist and bullying behaviour. Don't go away. Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. Now, the head teacher known as Britain's strictest head claims the Labour MP Jess Phillips spread lies about her during an extraordinary Twitter row sparked by the death of Tina Turner. Katharine Birbalsingh claims that Phillips set out to whip up a social media mob against her. However, the Shadow Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, says Jess Phillips is not racist, but that the Labour Party should investigate these kinds of claims. Well, GB News has approached Jess Phillips for an interview and a comment. We haven't heard anything back as yet, but the head teacher of Michaela Community School, Katharine Birbalsingh, joins us now. Welcome to the show. Katharine, it sounds so confusing, so maybe if you could just talk us through what happened.
Yeah, well, first of all, there was no Twitter row. I've never tweeted at Jess Phillips. She, however, tweeted 4 times about me to her 630,000 followers, calling into question our safeguarding policies at the school, accusing us of all sorts. And I don't know why, ultimately. I don't have anything to do with Jess Phillips. Our school isn't in her constituency. We have 2 outstanding Ofsteds. We have the highest Progress 8 score last year for our GCSE results. We're doing an amazing job with inner city children, the kinds of children who she should want to enable social mobility for.
Yes.
So why would she do this? And what was interesting was that she kept quoting in her tweets things that I had said in a speech I gave at the National Conservatism Conference a week before.
Right.
And my suggestion is the reason why she was bullying me, because she was bullying me and everybody can see that. Question is, why was she bullying me? The reason why I think it's unconscious bias, because I don't think she's a rabid racist. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying that she has a bias inside her which says to her that ethnic minorities like me should always vote on the left, should always hold a leftist point of view, and that when we don't, there's a sense of betrayal. How dare we go out and say the things that we think? You know, there are other head teachers and teachers who have spoken at Conservative Party conferences. They're white. She's never attacked them. She's never attacked anyone in this manner, any head teacher. It makes no sense.
So she claimed all this started because of a misunderstanding about a Tina Turner tweet. She claims that you were supporting domestic violence. What actually happened there?
So there was this GIF that a colleague sent me with lots of iconic pictures of Tina Turner.
Yes.
I tweeted it out saying good times at the top.
And this
For
was on
whatever
Tina
reason,
Turner's death. It was saying,
exactly,
you know, how sad it was that she died. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the GIF malfunctioned and it tweeted out as a single photo of her with Ike Turner. So it's a bit odd then having good times as the, you know...
Because he had abused Tina Turner.
Because he was abusive. Everybody knows this.
Yeah.
Now, by the time Jess Phillips got involved in any of this, the tweet had been deleted.
Yes.
Clearly, I don't support domestic violence. The tweet had been deleted. Why then tweet 4 times to your 630,000 followers when I actually said to my followers, not to Jess Phillips, but just to my followers, of course I don't support domestic violence.
Yes.
She tweeted back to her followers with a meme with somebody saying sure in a sarcastic fashion.
What I don't understand about this is lots of people, including followers of hers, had said, look, we've tried to post the same GIF.
That's right.
And what happens is it comes up with just that one image of a multitude, because the GIF flashed through lots of images of Tina. So she must know, and any person with half a brain must know, that firstly, you don't support domestic violence.
Yes.
But if you did, you wouldn't have posted it on the day of Tina Turner's death in this celebratory, psychopathic fashion. I mean,
exactly. And of course, the tweet had been deleted when she was commenting.
Right.
She never engaged, she has never engaged with a single thing that I think. Other NatCon speakers who she criticised, she engaged with what they were saying. They were all white. My point is that the head teachers who speak at political conferences who are white, she doesn't attack them. The NatCon conference people who spoke who are white, she doesn't attack them. Why attack me?
But knowing what I know of Jess Phillips's work, you know, she would definitely say, we tried to contact her and ask for a statement, she would definitely say that there's no way she's a racist, she doesn't have a racist thought in her mind at all. Do you accept that? Because obviously you don't have access to her inner thoughts.
No, that's true. And I can't prove this, but all I can say is, isn't it odd that she should pick on me? There was no row, there was no spat. Other head teachers and teachers who speak at political conferences, she doesn't attack them. NatCon people who she's spoken about, she engages with their arguments. She's never engaged with a single argument I've said. To call into question the policies of safeguarding at our school and to undermine what we do, why would she do that? Why bully me in this way? And then, at the very least, it's obvious that she's a bully, but why? I'm saying why.
Well,
and unconscious bias is very hard to prove. So I can't prove it, but I'm just saying, give me some other alternative explanation.
And we should say that a lot of her followers have said, look, she's not at all a racist, you know, that this is... And if
this is what? What do they say?
Well, they don't say what it could be. But could it be simply political partisanship? She doesn't like, outspoken conservative voices, particularly those who are doing so well when it comes to inner-city kids, kids from a deprived background. Your school is doing amazing things for those kids. You know, you're getting great results for these kids who you know, most of them ethnic minority.
Well, the thing is that I think if you were to ask any Labour MP, they would all say that they want inner-city children to do well. So either she really hates the fact that we're doing well with those children, or she has unconscious bias. It's one or the other.
Yes.
Give me an explanation for her very bizarre behaviour.
So, absolutely, and of course none of us know, do we?
No, indeed, and I accept that, and I can't prove what I'm saying, but that's the nature of unconscious bias. It's very difficult to prove, and I go there I'll go there when, look, all of us suffer from unconscious bias. When I'm hiring somebody, as a teacher, for instance, I always check myself and think, well, I'm looking for somebody who has great presence, but maybe he's quite tall. Maybe he's a man and has a deep voice. Is this, you have to check yourself for these things.
Yes, I
because
understand.
otherwise you'll make mistakes in life.
And quickly before we end, because I want you just to tell us the ethos of your school, because I've visited your school. It's an incredible place. The kids love it.
Yes.
They're all getting so much out of it.
Yes.
They're so disciplined and so focused.
Yes.
And the results speak for themselves.
Indeed.
So how do you do this?
How do we do it? Well, we're very traditional. I call myself a small c conservative. Belief in personal responsibility, a sense of duty towards others, an idea of self-sacrifice, a real sense of team where the children know that if they get a detention, it's not just on them, they're also letting the rest of their class down. We have traditional teaching methods. Teacher leads from the front. There's an adult in authority at the front of the room. The desks are in rows. The kind of classroom that you might have imagined from the 1950s, and we are very strict with them. And that strict discipline works for them. It helps them. I think too often people think strict must mean you're mean. I would always say that it means you love them. You love them enough to hold your standards really high for them so that they can do really well in life.
Katharine Birbalsingh, thanks so much for joining us today. And up next, we're going to be joined by the founders of LGB Alliance, who won their case against the trans charity Mermaids. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back. So a transgender charity's attempt to get another charity it described as having an anti-trans focus removed from the charity register has been dismissed. Mermaids launched the legal challenge against LGB Alliance, which supports lesbian, gay and bisexual people, but Mermaids alleged the group sought to undermine its own charitable activities. It's believed to be the first time a charity sought to strip another charity of its charitable status. Well, we're joined here in the studio today by LGB Alliance founders Bev Jackson and Kate Harris. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling? Because this has been going on for quite a while now, hasn't it? This
well,
case?
it's just, we're incredibly happy, obviously. It's just, this is a terrific win, not just for LGB Alliance and for all our supporters, but for LGBT people around the world. You know, we are the only UK charity, and possibly the only charity in the world, who specifically focuses on the rights of people with same-sex sexual orientation. That's gone. It's gone. All the other charities that used to do that don't do it anymore.
Well, that's what's so bizarre about this, is you're serving a similar function to what Stonewall used to do, what the Gay Liberation Front used to do.
Yes.
You know, and why is that so controversial all of a sudden? What, you know, what kind of things is it that you're trying to do?
Fundamentally, we're standing up for a civilised society.
Yes.
And what that means is freedom of speech and the freedom to disagree.
Yes.
So this isn't just a victory for lesbians, gays, bisexuals, although, I mean, we have been partying day in, day out. We actually got the verdict on Wednesday. We were embargoed till Thursday, so we had to keep completely stum.
Yes.
Since then, we have just been so thrilled. It's such a relief, because this does mean that the liberal democracy that we cherish can go on. The case is that important.
But what on earth do you think was going through the minds of the people at Mermaids? You know, just because they disagree with you that they should take away or attempt to take away your charitable status, what is their position here? What do they say?
Well, from the very moment that we announced that we were forming, we have been defamed and called horrible names simply because we call ourselves LGB. And what is this? LGB is simply about sexual orientation. It's about whether you're attracted to men or people of the same sex or both sexes. That's all it is. There might be different politics. Some people may be religious or not, mostly not. That's all we have in common is sexual orientation. All these other letters, these T and Q and I and A and plus and all that, is something to do with belief. They believe in gender identity, that some people have an inner feeling of gender identity, and everybody's got one of those, and it matters more than sex. And that is what they have in common. We don't have any belief system in common. We are simply people who are attracted to others of the same sex.
And, of course, it's important, isn't it, to make that distinction, because actually gender identity ideology pushes against gay rights, because gay rights is about recognising that some people are attracted to their own sex. I mean, if you come along and say, well, sex doesn't matter, you know, that changes that, doesn't it?
Well, there is an extraordinary tape from Trans Pride in Brighton a few years ago, where a deacon of the Methodist Church was laughing about how soon there will be no homosexuality. And so, you know, what motivates us, it is our belief in the right of everybody to have views and the right of everybody to disagree. But more than that, we're so pleased about this victory, because what it means is that children growing up now can see that there is a gay and lesbian bisexual charity, and that we say, it's fantastic, be happy.
Yes.
You do not need to medicalise your body if you're a girl who likes football or a boy who likes wearing dresses.
Well, we were speaking to a girl at 19 just a few weeks ago who said that throughout her secondary school period, the fact that she said she was attracted to girls, she was constantly hearing that she must be a boy. I mean, what is this? This is the kind of thing that people were told in the 1950s. A rather so-called girlish boy might be told, oh, you're really a girl. That is disgusting. That is sexist. I don't understand that anybody can think that's progressive.
Yes. Now one of the positive sides of the Mermaids case is that gender identity ideology was effectively put on the stand. Normally, gender ideologues say, we're not going to debate, we're not going to answer your questions. They had to defend it. It didn't work out very well for them, did it?
Well, it's one of the reasons it's such a fabulous day is that we started LGB Alliance after 3 years, not 3 weeks, not 3 months, 3 years of trying to engage Stonewall to talk about issues of sex and gender.
Yes.
So when people say, oh, you set up LGB Alliance specifically to split the movement, or you set up LGB Alliance specifically to be horrible to trans people, no, we didn't. We set up LGB Alliance to encourage informed, respectful dialogue on some of the most important issues of our time, which is, does biology matter? Does reason matter? Do facts prevail over feelings? That's why we set it up. And as far as one of the reasons we've been celebrating, and I'm afraid we've run out of champagne, is that after 8 years, this mantra led by Stonewall of no debate and followed by literally hundreds of cottage industry TQIA plus groups, the era of no debate is well and truly over.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is an American playwright who's putting on, as a play, a transcript of The Mermaids on trial.
Yes.
And that's going on in London, I think, on the 22nd of July.
Yes, we were told about this and we were completely amazed that I mean, in a sense, it's not so amazing because the trial was an astonishing thing. How is it possible that in 2023 that we're going into court to defend the notion of what a lesbian is?
Yes.
And that Kate is... It was very upsetting for Kate. It was upsetting for me to have to hear, well, some people disagree about what a lesbian is. You know, some people think that people with penises can be lesbians. No, they don't. I mean, they may say so, but we strongly reject that. But why should we have to say that in court?
Absolutely. Well, I think I'm thrilled that you won this case. I think it's very, very important, not just for your own charity, but for freedom of speech more generally. Thank you both for joining me today. Thank you. And still to come, we're going to be joined by Sarah Phillimore, who's going to give us a legal take on the verdict. Do not go anywhere. Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. So we've been discussing how the transgender charity Mermaids lost a legal challenge against LGB Alliance, and it means that the charity can keep its charitable status. Well, let's get the legal view now with lawyer Sarah Phillimore. Welcome to the show. So this is obviously a huge case. It's the first time one charity has tried to strip another charity of its status. What happens now?
Well, what happens now is general jubilation. It's another victory for reality and for common sense. But unfortunately, I feel like we're on a kind of not very funny Groundhog Day. I keep coming and talking to you. We're celebrating these amazing victories, and yet we're seeing still institutions utterly captured and utterly appearing to ignore the law. But no, it was a hugely significant victory.
Because it may not have gone this way. I mean, a lot of people weren't sure which way it was going to go because they, like you say, people believe that all the institutions are captured by gender ideology, perhaps even including the judiciary.
Well, it's an interesting point because the standing point, I don't think anybody thought that Mermaids could win on the standing point.
What does that mean exactly?
They had to show that they had a right to bring the litigation.
Yes.
The charities, I think there's a 2011 statute that says you've got to be affected by the decision. We can't just let people, if they feel like it, challenge the registration of a charity. The Charities Commission's got to be trusted to do the job. So Mermaids said, we've got standing because this has affected our income, and also the LGB Alliance has been rude about us. And effectively, the tribunal said, well, tough.
Yeah.
You don't have a right to the money, you don't have a right not to be criticised, so that doesn't give you standing.
So there is something about the proponents of gender identity ideology who do seem to have a sense of entitlement. Anyone who disagrees with our perspective must be taken down. You know, that's why they've gone after LGB Alliance. And we saw at Trans Pride yesterday an activist calling for the people present to punch what they call TERFs in the face to a huge round of applause. We played it earlier.
We've got no clearer example of what's been happening, I think, over the last 30 years of embedding gender identity ideology as something which is beyond reproach, beyond criticism, and simply the ultimate goal of any human rights activists. Now, I've reported Sarah Jane Baker's activities to the Probation Service.
This is the person who made this statement at Trans Pride.
Because that man has tweeted to me saying he's going to turn up at an event I'm hosting on the 22nd of July in Manchester. Now, I thought no more of it. I ignored him. Then, of course, yesterday I saw the video and I was extremely concerned, even more concerned by the response of the Met, who don't seem to understand the law, who seem to think that this man has an Article 10 right to encourage others to punch women in the face.
How is that not incitement to violence?
Well, it is.
Right.
It is encouraging people to commit violence. I think Dennis Kavanagh did a very useful Twitter thread setting out the 2007 Act, Section 44, encouraging or assisting others to commit a criminal offence. There is no doubt that that is a criminal offence. Can you imagine what would have happened to me if I'd stood up in front of 2,500 people and said, go and punch a trans person in the face? I would be arrested, and rightly so.
Rightly so, but you don't hear that at Let Women Speak events or feminist events.
No.
You know, this idea, I mean, Clive Lewis said that, well, this kind of violent rhetoric is on both sides of this debate. I frankly think that's wrong.
It's a lie. I'm sorry. It is a lie. This man cannot possibly, in good faith, say that and think it to be so. I cannot think of any other example where a woman has been released from prison, serving a term for torture, kidnap and attempted murder, and has gone on to incite a crowd to hurt trans people. It doesn't happen. These are male problems of male violence. And by some amazing sleight of hand, they have now made themselves untouchable.
Yes, and if it did happen at a feminist rally, they wouldn't get a round of applause and a cheer for it, certainly. No. I think people would deal with that problem.
I think we would rightly want people who did that to be arrested and to be sentenced. It's a criminal offence. It is wrong.
And this spread of this ideology, you've been talking this week about how it's entered the Crown Prosecution Service. What's happened there?
Well, the appointment of Sophie Cook last year caused me extreme anxiety. Sophie Cook is a very obvious male person who really hates women who think that sex is real. Sophie Cook was appointed the Speak Out champion for the CPS, which means they are there to embed equality, diversity and inclusion in the workforce. Sophie Cook repeatedly makes public statements about how TERFs are awful, responsible for genocides, etc. So the point is, once you have somebody like that in your institution, you are then sidestepping the internal checks and balances which are essential to keep that organisation from ideological capture.
And the CPS is now issuing guidelines which use all the language of ideological capture, but sex assigned at birth, cisgender, all the phrases of this belief system.
The CPS has fallen. The CPS is now, without doubt, utterly captured. And I think, again, Dennis Kavanagh made the very good point. If you're a Crown prosecutor, if you're a barrister, and you're being asked to prosecute a woman who was brought into court for putting up her wedding photos because her husband had now transitioned and called that abuse. Now, Dennis thinks that would be a breach of our barristers' code of conduct, and I agree.
Well, isn't the CPS also suggesting that if a partner refuses to help fund the transition of their partner, that counts as domestic abuse?
Yes. Withholding money for transition is clearly in the guidance at Annex D as criminal coercive control.
Can the Crown Prosecution Service do its job effectively if it is so ideologically on one side of this debate?
Of course it can't. It's the nation's independent prosecuting authority. It has to be impartial. It's subject to a public sector equality duty. It must foster good relations between the various protected characteristics. It's not merely not doing that. It is actively harming women now.
Well, that is very worrying indeed. Sarah Fullamore, thanks so much for coming onto the show to explain it to us. And we have an awful lot to come between now and 9 o'clock, so please do not go anywhere.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just been sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too, and under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14-15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing. But again, some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
And there's plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week. But let's get a news update first from Tatiana Sanchez.
Andrew, thank you very much and good evening. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Some breaking news in the last few minutes. A second child has sadly died following a serious road traffic collision in Wimbledon on Thursday. She's been named as 8-year-old Nuria Sajjad. Well, on Thursday it was confirmed that 8-year-old Selina Lau had died as a result of her injuries. More on this story in the next hour. The Met Police has confirmed it's received initial contact from the BBC over claims a male presenter paid a teenager for sexually explicit images, but that no formal referral or allegation has been made. It's also said we will require additional information before determining what further action should follow. The young person's mother told The Sun she saw a photo of the man in his underwear on her child's phone. The Director General, Tim Davie, has confirmed the BBC was aware of the complaint in May and has been investigating the case ever since. In a statement, he also condemned the unsubstantiated rumours being made on the internet about some of the corporations presenting talent. The US President is on the way to the UK. He's due to arrive this evening at Stansted Airport. Joe Biden will meet the King at Windsor Castle tomorrow before holding talks with the Prime Minister at Downing Street. He's expected to raise concerns about Brexit and America's decision to send cluster munitions to Ukraine. Well, Biden's visit comes ahead of the NATO summit in Lithuania, where the Prime Minister will urge allies to bolster their defence spending. Speaking in Vilnius on Tuesday, Rishi Sunak's expected to say we're seeing unprecedented security challenges. The UK remains one of the few NATO members meeting the alliance's requirement to spend at least 2% of national income on defence. More than 1,000 people have crossed the English Channel on small boats over the past 2 days. The Home Office says over 600 people were intercepted on Friday and almost 400 made the journey yesterday. Despite storm warnings, conditions are calm and GB News understands more than 200 people have already been intercepted this morning. It brings this year's total to 12,700. The Home Office says the number of people risking their lives is unacceptable. Police say they're investigating a possible hate-related incident in County Tyrone. It's after the Irish flag and a picture of the Premier Leo Varadkar was placed on top of a bonfire. There was also a boat with a banner which read Good Friday Agreement. That ship has sailed. The pyre was later set alight. PSNI Chief Inspector John Kears says evidence is now being gathered to establish whether a criminal offence has been committed. Just Stop Oil has denied any involvement in the stunt at the former Chancellor's wedding yesterday. The group posted a video of a woman throwing orange confetti at George Osborne and his wife Thea Rogers, but it's now saying it wasn't responsible. Just Stop Oil, however, applauded the move, which generated publicity for its cause. TV, online, DAB+ radio and on TuneIn. This is GB News. Now it's back to Free Speech Nation.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. And we've got our lovely studio audience here, so let's not let them go to waste and get some more questions. Our first question in this section of the show is from David. Where's David? Hi, David.
Hello there, thank you very much. Do we need trigger warnings on cakes?
Well...
No, I am the warning on the cigarette packet.
Look, Bruce, I think some of us do. You know, I'm very partial to the odd Battenberg, and it's very bad for you. You know, well, this is a specific. I know why you're asking this, David. This is because there was this poster. It's a West End play, and it's been banned by Transport for London because it's got a picture of a big cake. I don't know if we've got an image of the poster. If we have, it'd be lovely to see it, because effectively it's just a poster advertising a show, big cake on it, big wedding cake, and TfL are basically saying that this thing is just it's promoting bad health. Diane?
Now, I wonder whether the production company has a right to actually get some money out of TfL, because the cake is clearly a set piece.
Right.
Because there are two actors perched on top of the cake dancing.
Yes.
It's clearly a theatre piece. They're not suggesting that you eat the cake, so TfL...
Yeah, but what, even if they were?
But they charged them, like, they spent £20,000 spreading all this cake over London, and then they had to pay a further £5,000 to correct it.
Right, OK.
Which I think is appalling, because this is a theatre show.
This is sort of insane, though. Do we have an image of the cake? Can we see that, the cake? Right, it's no image, unfortunately, but you're going to have to imagine it. It's a picture of a cake.
It's a big cake.
It's a big cake,
It's a big wedding cake, which is something you're meant to have at a wedding.
I find it very odd that you... I mean, I could understand if it was sort of advertising heroin or something. You might want to curb that.
Yeah, but the thing is, as well, I mean, even if it was depicting heroin...
Yes.
It would be up to the individual to show some restraint.
Right, well, quite,
so,
exactly.
you know, if someone like myself is a little more on the well-nourished side, then stay away from the cake.
So this reminds me of when Sadiq Khan became Mayor of London. He was angry about it was a Protein World advert where it had a skinny woman saying, are you beach body ready? Well, I'm always beach body ready. But the thing is, like, he was saying this is offensive to women because this woman in the advert is so skinny. Did it offend you, Diane?
No, because she was a beautiful woman, and that is what she looks like. Because I read an article that was interviewing that woman afterwards, and she said, I don't know what all the fuss is about. I like surfing. I like running along the beach. This is what I look like. And
so they were basically saying, why wasn't she plump? Or why wasn't she...
Well, they were saying this is an unrealistic body standard. I'm sorry. No, it's not.
No, because that's what she looks like.
She's just a healthy young woman, and it's really wrong to say people don't look like that. She does.
She does.
How rude is that against that woman?
It's very patronising. Anyway, we have got the image of the cake. Let's have a look at this, because I'm absolutely fascinated as to why this would cause such offence. That's not upsetting, is it?
It doesn't even look nice to eat.
Do you know what I'm more upset about? The fact is, they look like they're dancing on 2 toilet rolls.
They do. I would say there's a health and safety issue dancing on a cake in that way. I mean, someone's going to rick their wrist at the very least, aren't they?
Rick? OK.
Well, I'm just saying it happens. I've had many dance floor accidents. Bruce, believe me, it's not pretty.
Are you a dancer?
I'd love to see
I dance like the wind.
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't...
I'm not so much a good dancer, I'm more a very strong swimmer.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, both have their merits. Well. Let's move on to a question now from Dale. Where is Dale? Hi, Dale.
What price to get married?
Oh, yeah. Well, I couldn't believe this story, actually. This is the Church of England are now saying that they really shouldn't be charging for church weddings. They're saying, actually, that they're saying that a lot of the reason why people aren't getting married is because it's too expensive. The church is charging, like,
£641.
Right.
And they're also asking you to pay for cleaning.
Well, that seems fair
In
enough to
some
me,
cases.
because you trash the church at a wedding, don't you?
Well, not really, because the cake's not there, so there's no crumbs. There's nothing to drop.
There's confetti, there's the sweat of excitement.
There's confetti outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So nature will tidy that up.
OK.
That's called the wind. And...
I think it's reasonable, though, because a church, Bruce, is a big, elaborate, interesting building.
I'm fat, not stupid. I know what it is.
No, I wasn't
Good
suggesting you don't know
Lord.
what a church is. I'm saying that, you know, I would... Like, if you're going to hire, and it's like hiring a castle, that doesn't come cheap.
No, I bet it doesn't.
Well, not in Scotland. Ask Madonna, because she took over Skibo for the whole weekend, and look how well that worked out. Divorce.
Enya lives in a castle. I mean,
Of course Enya lives in a castle. Why wouldn't she? She's not well.
Diane.
So did Archie from Ballinori.
Diane, would you pay $640 for a church wedding? I think that's better than going to the town hall for civil service for a £5.
Well, that's the thing, you see.
Are you married?
Organised, yes.
So what did you do then, and how much did you spend?
Well, I got a bargain. You see, I made sure that my wedding was about £5,000 all in.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got it done in a nice hotel in Richmond. It was very nice. And the
Was
thing
Jerry
is,
Hall there? Because she lives there.
Jerry Hall. Oh,
Jerry
of course
Hall.
she was.
Fabulous.
She was just sat there in the hotel the whole time. Save the environment.
Back to the point.
Back to the point. Well, let's put it this way. In my opinion, organised religion, and I underline that word organised, has always been about extorting money from their followers. So, of course...
That's what it's all about. It's all about worshipping God and that kind of stuff.
Yes, but you have to pay to do that. You have to pass around the collection plate. You have to upkeep the church.
Well, God doesn't come cheap.
Exactly.
It's the same with Prada. That's an expensive religion.
Yeah. And that is a religion. Look at Anna Wintour. She's like a high priestess.
But also,
she is.
Yeah.
You don't get a good bit of bang for your buck, because as we said before in the earlier part of the programme, the C of E, they're shrinking and shrinking because sort of the message is getting mixed, people aren't turning up to the church, and they are charging 3 times, like their increase in the price went up like 3 times the rate of inflation.
But that's where they're still fashionable. Like, the church itself is out of fashion, but having a church wedding, people still want to do that. Even if they're atheists, they want to do that.
Do you know what? You say that, and you are correct, because my friend got married in a church, and she covered it in, like, Darth Vader and R2-D2 dolls.
Oh, no.
She loves Star Wars.
Are you allowed to do that? Isn't that blasphemy?
I think that's sacrilegious.
I think so. I think I'm as outraged as you.
Yeah, no, I'm appalled, actually. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Let's move on now to a question from Miranda. Where is Miranda? Hi, Miranda.
Does Barbie need to attend lessons on Asian history?
What an odd question, Miranda. Does Barbie need to attend lessons on Asian history? So this is to do with Vietnam, of course. Vietnam has banned the upcoming Barbie film because there is a scene in the film which has got a map which basically depicts contested Chinese territorial claims, and they're upset about that. I mean,
yeah,
go
but
on,
this
Diane.
is valid.
Is it?
This is actually valid because for a long time now, China likes to change American films. And it does that because the Chinese market is absolutely huge. I mean, if you want to see a very funny example, see the end of Fight Club in China. In the end of Fight Club, normally, spoiler alert, everything blows up. In China, they just cut the explosion and they put a placard up saying the authorities discovered what was going on and he was sent to a lunatic asylum.
Yeah, yeah. At the end, the state wins.
The state wins!
Which is hilarious.
So China has always actually censored part of the American films that they let through because they have such a large market.
Yeah.
And so in this particular map, it shows a dotted line.
Yeah.
So Vietnam is saying, but wait a minute, that is a 9-dash line which actually relates to China claiming part of our territory. And so Vietnam, who are very aware of this and have this clash with China, are saying you've changed that film to appeal to your Chinese viewers, but you are offending us, the Vietnamese. Now, I'm sorry, but even if Hollywood did this, because they did tonight, they said, oh, no, it's just a childhood map. It's Barbie being Barbie, you know. It's like, well, Barbie's either very intelligent or she's not, babes, work it out. But they said, oh, no, it's just a childish drawing. But the thing is that either way, the Chinese market is absolutely huge. The Vietnamese market, not in comparison.
Of course they want to pander to the Chinese market.
Yeah.
Well, we had the same with the poster for Star Wars, The Force Awakens, right, which has John Boyega, a black actor on the poster. They took it off because there's a lot of anti-black racism in China.
It's awful.
Which is genuinely offensive to do that. And, of course, they were doing that to appease the Chinese market. Who knew that Barbie, though, was so political? This is incredible.
I think the thing that's upset me about it the most is the Dua Lipa song. It's really underwhelming.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's awful. it's, as my mother would say, it's just a dirge.
I haven't heard the song, and I wasn't... I wasn't going to see the Barbie film anyway.
Neither
Bruce.
was I, funnily enough.
No.
No, I can't sit that long.
No. OK, we're going to move on to a question from Joy. Where is Joy? Hi, Joy.
Hello. Do Brits need to go on diet?
Yes.
Well, no, this is interesting. So, British people, well, OK, yes, we do have to go on a diet, generally, but this was a story specifically about EasyJet. EasyJet took off 19 passengers. This was a flight back from Lanzarote to Britain. They basically came out and said, look, the flight is too heavy, we're not going anywhere, so we have to get rid of some of you. Now, they didn't do the thing I would have done, which is gone out with a measuring tape and decided...
Andrew!
Well, who are the fatter people? Get them off the... That's just the more utilitarian approach, isn't it?
I suppose...
One of the ladies out there had said what should happen is that people should, and their luggage, they should all be put on a scale.
Yes.
And if you're over whatever, you should pay more.
Well, this has always been an argument because, like, if you have 2 people getting on the plane, they're allowed exactly the same luggage allowance.
Yes.
But there is absolutely no discrimination on how much they weigh. It's all actually about shape and how much space you take up and whether you're going to actually intrude into the person's seat next to you.
So do you take it you're in the overhead bin because you're so skinny?
Diane, do you think that very large people, you know, the kind that spill over the seat, should pay for 2 seats?
I think that you should pay for 2 seats because.
But isn't it quite humiliating?
No, well,
get on a treadmill, I suppose.
Can I just say what I think the real problem is? Having recently been in Benidorm, and I know you don't like me, madam, and it's OK, I'm not going to speak much longer. The fact of the matter is, in Spain, it's too hot for chocolate, so there's more crisps. My nephew explained this to me. So people are high on carbohydrates, and that's why we're in this mess.
OK.
Because they've just been eating all the Pringles, because they do so many different flavours that you don't get over.
Well, then it's their fault. It's their fault, and they
blame the Spanish.
I blame the Spanish for everything.
Absolutely.
From the Armada onwards, frankly. Haven't got over it.
I went to an exhibition about that as a child.
Did you?
Yeah, hated it. And then we went to Harrods Fruit Hall.
And you like that more?
I love fruit.
OK, well, there we go. There's a moral somewhere there, but I'm not sure what it is. Let's get a final question in this section from Stephen.
Is the war on drugs effectively over?
Well, it's a good question, because we've had these Home Office figures come out this week, and I couldn't believe this quite. That only 1 in 7 people are prosecuted for Class A drugs, right? 1 in 7. Class A, I think, are like cocaine, heroin, the good ones, right? And the thing is, I think that's bad, though, isn't it, Diane? 1 in 7, because that would effectively mean that people are breaking the law and they're not getting arrested for it.
They're breaking the law, they're not getting arrested for it, and it's a very, very extreme drugs. The Class A's are really extreme, and they cause a lot of damage to our society and the societies that they come from. And it's interesting that this is happening when you've got Suella Braverman, who wants to kind of push the Class C drug, you know, cannabis, which is legal in other countries, and she wants to push that up to a Class B and make that even worse.
You see, I could get, if it was 1 in 7 prosecuted for cannabis, I'd kind of understand that.
Yeah.
But if it's cocaine and things, is it just because these are mostly middle-class recreational drugs and the police just don't want to go after those people?
Do you know what? That is very interesting, because I think you're right there. I think it is who is using these drugs, and it's all very easy to try and clamp down on county lines and kind of go into a place like a council estate and say, oh, we're going to go in and raid the drugs people here. Yeah, but excuse me, stop. They're not probably the main users. The main users are probably all in Canary Wharf.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
go to the media parties and stuff. I mean, what do you think about all this, Bruce?
It's when you said Class A, because I do have the dyslexia, I thought you meant classy drugs.
Classy drugs?
You know, nice drugs.
No, I'm not endorsing any
No, neither
drugs.
am I.
I wouldn't even take a paracetamol, forget about it.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, just herbs and witch doctory for me.
Litres of water and lemon.
That's all I need.
That
Just
kind of thing.
smack him with a Bible and he's fixed.
Yeah.
Oh, she loves that.
OK, still ahead on Free Speech Nation, we're going to be bringing you social sensations of the week, including the lone eco-zealot who shamelessly crashed at George Osborne's wedding. But first, let's see how the weather's looking.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just been sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too, and under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14-15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing. But again, some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK. And temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Still ahead, comedian Andrew Lawrence, who it's fair to say has caused some controversy on the comedy circuit, will be here to give us a taste of his upcoming stand-up tour. Don't go anywhere. To Free Speech Nation. So in 2021, comedian Andrew Lawrence was accused of making racist jokes about the European Championship final. His agent dropped him, his tour was cancelled, he didn't perform on stage again for almost 2 years, but he's performing again now, and he's got a tour coming up. Please welcome to the show, Andrew Lawrence. Well, thanks for coming on the show, you evil reprobate. Now, this is interesting to me because you've always been a controversial comic. Like, even when I first heard of you all those years ago back on The Fringe, you know, I think there was a poster of you with some sort of bleach or something. You were dark humour, you were near the edge, right? So why do people assume when you talk about race or these sensitive issues, you're being literal?
Well, that's a good point, isn't it? I think there's that contract, that understanding, it's kind of a bond of trust between comedians and the public,
yes,
that you're not supposed to take what they're saying seriously.
Right.
And as soon as you do, you've broken that bond of trust and that contract. But that's symptomatic of a wider social problem, isn't it? That lack of trust.
But let's contextualise it. You know, this was soon after the George Floyd affair.
Yeah.
You know, everything had kicked off. Black Lives Matter. So there was a particular sensitivity about the issue of race. But I suppose, is that why you wanted to joke about it?
Well, you know, I'd watched the football tournament, the Euros in England, and the whole tournament had been framed in racial politics, and all the players were taking a knee for BLM. Everyone always says, oh no, they weren't taking a knee for BLM, they were taking a knee to protest against racism in football. Well, they might have been, but unfortunately that taking a knee gesture is inextricably linked with BLM. I could give a Nazi salute in support of animal welfare, but it wouldn't take that gesture away from its original context, would it? So the whole tournament was framed in racist slogans splashed across the TV screens, hate won't win, and all the pundits, the commentators talking about how racist English football fans were. The whole tournament, a woke wash, if you want to call it that. And then at the end of the tournament, England played Italy in the final, and it went to penalties. It was a draw at the end, it went to penalties, and the England manager, Gareth Southgate, selected 5 players to take penalties. Now, coincidentally or not, he selected 2 players to step up and take the first penalties who were white, and they scored their penalties. And the last 3 that he selected were mixed race, and they all missed their penalties quite badly. And everyone was very angry about this and impassioned. It was the first time we got to the final of a football tournament, but at that moment, in this strange penalty shootout when the 2 white players scored, the 3 mixed race players missed. Suddenly, no one wanted to talk about race anymore. Suddenly, it was off the menu, and it was this awkward elephant in the room. And it's my 6th sense of humour. I found that quite funny, so I was straight on Twitter.
Well, it's that instinct, isn't it, of making a joke about the thing that you know you're not meant to make a joke about at that given time. But then, of course, because of the subject matter, people say you're a racist for doing it. How does that feel to be... Because you're not a racist, right? Like, how would you feel? Yeah, it goes without saying. So how does it feel to suddenly get the jokes being taken literally and you being accused of one of the worst things you can be accused of?
Well, emotions were very high for everyone at that point. I think it's a big deal, this international football tournament for sports fans. Everyone was very angry that we got to this final and we hadn't won, and everyone was looking for someone to blame for that. But there was also this thing where the whole tournament had been framed in this racial politics, and here was the opportunity. So, we have got racist football fans, and
I see. So it was a kind of like
it was a pantomime,
But what happened? Because my understanding is that your tour dates were immediately cancelled, and this was a Twitter storm, right? And then your agent dropped you as well. So talk us through that. That was very quick.
It's very strange. It happened very quickly within the space of a few hours. Who knows, maybe 30, 40 tour dates all in one go, which to my mind, it seemed like, well, this is orchestrated. This is an organisation who have gone to work contacting these venues. This can't just be the work of one individual.
So all 40 venues cancelled roughly the same time?
Within a couple of hours, yeah. Within 2-3 hours.
Incredible. But of course,
which made me feel it was in some way orchestrated. But
and then when did the agent drop you?
I had a few phone calls with the agent, and one of his, how he described it, is that one of his higher profile clients has said to him, look, if you don't drop Andrew Lawrence, I'm leaving your agency. So the agent decided for his livelihood and his business that he had to part company with me.
Well, which, you know what, Andrew, don't worry about it, because as I say, cancel culture doesn't exist. So
yeah, that's right.
It's all in your imagination. But look, you took a while off stand-up, but you were doing these internet videos which have become incredibly popular, your viral videos where you do various characters, and they're really funny, and they've done so well. And now you're back. You're doing a tour.
Yeah, I am, and I during the pandemic, when none of us were allowed to gig, I sort of got used to it a little bit, and
you made it work because you had these videos.
Well, I went to work. I think I've got to do something, and I'm not going to have this, and I've got these online platforms to put stuff out there, and some other comedians did the same thing, and it transformed the industry in a way. There's some people who've done very well out of that, but I wanted to do stand-up comedy since I was a kid, and it's all I've ever wanted to do, and it's my home really, and I get to a green room, I'm on stage, and it's a natural thing for me, and it's my, it's still my community as well. These people, even though those comedians wouldn't come out and support me, and I understand that, because there's a culture of fear within comedy, but within the arts generally, and beyond, that people see what happens when you speak out, and you know, you lose your livelihood potentially. I was lucky because I had this other source of income that I built up through the comedy videos online, but they've seen how quickly you can lose your livelihood by having the wrong opinion. So of course other comedians don't want to speak out. It's a precarious profession at the best of times.
Absolutely, makes sense.
So I don't have any... There's no sort of malice there. They're still my people. That's my community. But I wish they'd all have a bit more backbone and and do what they want to do rather than toe this very political line, which they all do.
But at least you are now out again touring. Just tell us about the tour. Where are you going, and how can people get tickets for your shows?
Well, you know, it's starting off the 15th of July next Saturday in Swansea.
Yeah.
And then the following Friday in Swindon. So we're starting with all the Swaz. That's the way we go. and then, funnily enough, I'm doing a lot of gigs that are not incorporated in the tour, but then I get back to in October. I'm doing Southampton on the 14th of October, 2 dates in London, the 20th and the 21st of October. I think one of those is sold out, but there's still tickets for the other one.
That's
so it's a slow re-entry, and after what I like to think of as a 2-year tactical retreat.
Yeah, absolutely. And people should be aware when they come and see the show that what you're saying on stage isn't a literal expression of your point of view. Yeah.
Well, you know, they're welcome to be offended, but that's nothing to do with me. Offence is taken; it's not given. I didn't give it to them; they took it. So that's a problem for them to deal with. And if they are offended, they want to come and tell me they're offended after the show. I'm happily to let them know just how much I don't care.
Fantastic. Andrew Lawrence, where can people find you on Twitter or website?
YouTube, Andrew Lawrence Comedy. That's where I am most of the time. If they want to see when my tour dates are, it's Linktree, Andrew Lawrence Tour Dates.
Fantastic. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And coming up on Free Speech Nation, who's in charge of anti-racist training and education in schools? Well, the director of campaign group Don't Divide Us. We'll be discussing that topic next. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Andrew Doyle. Now, we all know that learning about different faiths, ethnicities and cultures at school is important for children to grow up into well-rounded adults. But just how non-partisan is the current curriculum? Don't Divide Us believes in colourblind anti-racism, meaning we should treat everyone as an individual worthy of respect, regardless of race, religion or the colour of their skin. And the campaign group has just released its latest report on anti-racist training in education and schools. And its director, Alka Sehgal-Cuthbert, joins us now. Alka, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy.
So, as part, you're director of Don't Divide Us, and just before we begin, just tell us what Don't Divide Us is all about.
OK, we're a grassroots organisation. We sprung up, if you like, in the wake of the summer of 2020, after the BLM protests. And basically, we want to present a common-sense voice on race, by which I mean we want to push back against kind of three main ideas that really come from critical race theory, even if they don't say that they are. And those three ideas are: Britain is an institutionally racist country. We don't believe that. There's no conclusive proof of that. That white people have privilege, similar, no conclusive proof, it's an assertion. And the third one is that people like me, non-white people, need people like you to make space for us to succeed.
Yes.
Because of the kind of inbuilt oppressive relationship, which we don't believe either.
So those are the premises, and of course you've been focusing as part of this on education.
Yes.
Because for a while now, and particularly since George Floyd, a lot of schools have been implementing critical race theory, as you say, not calling it critical race theory because they want to get around that.
Yeah.
And this has actually proved to be hugely racially divisive. But your report has sort of revealed the extent of this, is that right?
Well, that's right, because I think what's tended to happen is that, you know, the public discourse picks on the most egregious cases, similar with the trans ideology in schools as well. But there's a much more long-standing problem, and also it's not just a question of a few dodgy lessons. Through looking more closely at the way these third-party organisations work, the scope of their work, the kind of provision they're offering, the relationships they have with each other and with other established organisations, they form a kind of self-legitimising network in a way.
And these are groups that come into schools to give lectures and workshops and that kind of thing.
They come in, they provide lessons for assemblies or lessons under the umbrella of EDI, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, but they also provide things like one company, for example, Flair, will go into a school and provide a bespoke course of training for staff and pupils that could last 1 to 2 years.
Right.
And it involves monitoring through you know, sort of online quizzes.
Yes.
We don't know what happens with that data, by the way.
OK.
So some of it is really intrusive, and others will just do a one-off lesson. But they also provide professional development for teachers. They provide reading lists. They provide directories of personnel, of staff.
But they're all coming from the same ideological viewpoint.
Yeah.
It's a bit reminiscent of figures like Robin DiAngelo in America going into corporations to berate white members of staff for being... I mean, she says you should try to be less white. I don't know how you do that. But the fact that this is happening in schools, you effectively get these ideologues coming into schools teaching highly contested theories as though they are fact.
They're not only teaching partisan political ideas as fact, they're actually also changing the ethos of the school, that is the practice, the rules of practice. So, you know, since when has any school in Britain thought it was a good idea to segregate the pupils according to colour and take one lot off to discuss their racial identity, and another lot off to discuss their racial guilt?
And people will say that that's not happening. I know teachers that it's happened too. So it is definitely happening.
It is happening. And I mean, the people, you know, the kind of naysayers who say, well, it isn't happening everywhere. Where's your proof? Where are the numbers? You know, you just have to use a little bit of logical inference to ask yourself, where is the opposition? Who is opposing this?
Yes.
There is no one, from Gillian Keegan down to local authorities, who is even questioning this. There's silence.
And there is evidence. I mean, we've seen the Brighton Council's anti-racist school strategy, which is pure critical race theory, even though they don't use the phrase in the document. You know, it is being applied.
Yes.
Teachers, there's all sorts of testimony from teachers about training courses they've had to go on to challenge their own whiteness and this kind of thing. Now, what happens when schools become ideological? I mean, what happens to kids in that situation?
Well, what happens to kids? I mean, for example, what you're getting is a very either a sloppy or a intentional misuse of the Equality Act to provide positive action. So, for example, one school is paying for black kids to have supplementary Saturday lessons, but nobody else, even though actually in that school it's the white Roma pupil that does worse.
So it's not even the worst worst performing pupils that are benefiting.
The point about this is it is just so intellectually and educationally illiterate. It is, you know, if any child is doing bad at any subject at school, whatever their colour, what they need is a teacher with better subject knowledge, disciplinary knowledge, patience, and you know, freedom to try different approaches. They do not need to have their racial identity cultivated. It's a non sequitur. There's no link.
And so now that Don't Divide Us has produced this report, and it's not the first report that you've done into schools.
No, it's the second. Yeah.
And you've issued freedom of information requests. You know it's going on. You've got the evidence. You've got the testimonies. What do you hope will happen with this information now?
What we want to do is, it's all feeding into our campaign. We have a petition running alongside that we wish to present to the government in autumn. Please, everybody, if you think schools should be educating and not indoctrinating, go to our website, sign our petition. We want to get our second report out there as widely as possible. We would like the Department of Education to read it. We would like Gillian Keegan to read it. And most importantly, I think, we want head teachers and senior leadership to read it, because they're the ones who are on the front line, who are deciding yay or nay to having the third parties in. And we want to kind of raise the alarm and start that conversation.
Well, very important people sign the petition. So that's at the Don't Divide Us website.
That's right, yes, don'tdivideus.com.
Don'tdivideus.com. Alka, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And still ahead on Free Speech Nation, we're going to bring you the hottest social clips that have gone viral this week. And we're going to be turning agony uncle by answering your unfiltered dilemmas. Do not go anywhere. and welcome back to the final part of Free Speech Nation. But every week we dedicate this part of the show to the world of social media and often the stories that have gone viral. So first up, we've got this one from our eco-friends who are no longer satisfied ruining major sporting events. They've decided to gate-crash high-profile weddings too. So this is the wedding in Somerset yesterday of former Chancellor George Osborne. Onlookers initially thought the woman was a well-wisher as she runs in from the crowd to hurl orange confetti. Now, Just Stop Oil later tweeted, "You look good in orange, George Osborne. Congratulations to the newlyweds." However, should say Just Stop Oil say they didn't do this. They don't know the identity. I think that's pretty grim. What do you think?
I think that woman is a boot. I am really sorry. I think it is disgusting that a grown adult think that that's in any way appropriate, regardless of what you think of that guy.
Yeah.
That's someone's wedding, and it's like, really, that got you off that day that you were going to go and do that. And not, shame on you.
And not just that, you know, people say, well, it's just paper, it's just confetti. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know who this person is. Could be anything. Could have poison on it, whatever, you know. But
yeah, I really hope that they sort of look back on it and laugh, you know, oh, and you remember, and this woman threw stuff at us, because, yeah, I think it's completely inappropriate. And Just Stop Oil, if you're going to tweet 1 minute, oh, you look good in orange, and then the next minute, oh, no, wait, it wasn't us, that's a very mixed message.
Oh, yeah, quite.
Yeah, because they're kind of claiming responsibility for it, and then they're denying it.
It's very interesting, though, isn't it? I haven't seen anyone think this was a good thing. Like, from either side of it doesn't matter if you're pro-Tory or anti-Tory, everyone thinks
I think it's embarrassing.
It's me.
Do you know the only thing that I will say in that woman's favour? Her hair was fabulous.
It was immaculate.
Beautiful, and it was gorgeous, and there was no yellowing, there was no nicotine in it. She looked good. Yeah. But it's just like, shame on you. Did you bring your children up with those values?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the children will have immaculate hair, but no moral compass.
And no confetti.
OK, so, next up, who says cricket is boring?
Me.
Yeah, well... and there's someone else who does as well. Let's have a look.
I thought the cricket was pretty good. He's fallen asleep up there on the left.
Yeah, not the best place to probably fall asleep. He's got his arms holding him back, but that's a nice steep slide down to the garden.
OK, so obviously the Ashes test at Headingley and lots of fans wanting to see it going up on the roof. I get that. I mean, not for cricket. I wouldn't do it for cricket. I'd do it for a Donna Summer concert or something like that. But, like, why would that...
Oh, I couldn't go on a roof. I'm scared of heights.
But couldn't he fall if he falls asleep? I mean, that's dangerous,
But
right?
that's totally up to him. You know, he's brought this on himself. I think the Ashes, the fag Ashes, because he was clearly high. He was smoking something. Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't that look like an advert for the insurance company? Because you see the man asleep on the roof and then it pans back. Insurance.
Yeah. I mean, cricket is pretty boring, though.
Oh, my God. The only reason why you watch cricket is so that you can get super drunk and fall asleep in a field. That's really it.
Do we have cricket fans here?
Some cricket fans. No.
Oh, 3.
No, look,
It's a sellout. Wow, majority speaks.
I've been talking to cricket fans recently. They love it. They get so passionate about it, so I'm kind of jealous. Maybe I should try and get into cricket.
Well, you don't have it. Like, I don't think we really have cricket in Scotland, although Ruth Davidson, who was the ex-leader of the Conservative Party, is now... she has a role with Scottish cricket.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, I think she's a bat.
OK, now let's move on to this one. This is, so this is, of course, Tom Cruise, who's well known for his many stunts in the Mission Impossible films. Now he's done another one. This is for the new Mission Impossible film. The stunt came out. It's his most dangerous yet. Let's have a look. OK, so he's 61-year-old. This is his new Mission Impossible film, and he rides a motorbike off the cliff, falls from the sky. I mean, and they've posted this video of the extent of the training that he did. Why? I mean, why doesn't he just get someone else to do that?
It's funny. I saw this on the Lorraine show, whereas that's where I get my news.
Yes,
but I don't watch Lorraine in the morning. I wait until the evening because I can't cope. And I saw that, and I completely thought, why would you do that?
Why?
You must be really insane.
Well, he must love it. He must, because
he's rich. What has he got to lose?
So it's not like they were trying to save some money on a stunt.
No, but that's the whole thing.
I mean, there's two sides to this, really, because on one hand, like, you know, would you ask a stunt person to do something you wouldn't do yourself? But on the other hand, they're a stunt person. They are trained to do it.
He absolutely loves it. So, like, whenever he does a new Mission Impossible film and he has interviews about this, he brags a bit, doesn't he, about doing because he really, really loves doing it.
Yeah, but if he dies, that's the film gone.
No, they can animatronic him now. They can CGI it all in. It's
AI.
Would they do it like in a taste sense? Do you think they'd still do it?
No, do you know how I think would replace him? Madonna. And I think that would be really good. That would be a complete plot twist.
It would be a plot twist, wouldn't it? Because he keeps taking those masks off. And so why doesn't he take the mask off?
La Bonita.
And he does La Bonita, and that's the twist.
Totes.
And then she does it again, and she's Cher.
I think what will happen when she eventually bothers to get on her Jackson and go on tour, that he'll come on as the encore.
Well, let's hope.
Wow.
There is something interesting about these stunts, because like Charlie Chaplin used to do death-defying stunts, jumping in front of moving trains and all this sort of thing. Jackie Chan does all sorts of things like this. I think there is something. I get it. The thrill of doing it yourself.
Yeah, Dolly Parton wears her own bra.
Does she?
That's a stunt in itself.
I mean, it's bloody dangerous, that thing.
I think so.
The elastic alone could cause a hernia, couldn't it? OK, well, anyway, this is the part of the show where we're going to talk through your unfiltered dilemmas. I do really appreciate you writing in every week with your problems. You obviously think that I can solve them. I never can, Bruce. I never can.
I feel I can.
You can do a better job than me. Let's find out. Well, our first dilemma here is from Chris. Chris says, I've been seeing a girl for 2 months. Oof. When we met, I thought we'd be something serious and joked about marriage and double-barrelling our surnames. She worried about me being interested in her flatmate, who I get on well with. I told her I wasn't interested, but now I think I like her flatmate more. Do I say anything? You know what's happened there, Chris? I think it's because she accused you or insinuated you might like the flatmate, and that's kind of turned you on to the flatmate. It's like forbidden fruit, yeah?
Yeah, Chris, I think you're weak.
Wow.
Yeah, no, Chris.
Very harsh, Diane.
No, I'm going to go straight in there.
Okay.
If you think you like the flatmate, then I'm sorry, but you should sort this out properly. How dare you? That's immensely rude, and you don't poo where you eat. I'm sorry, I was going to say something worse, but I shan't. And that young lady and her flatmate, they're a friendship, and what, you're going to break it up and ruin it?
Well, he doesn't know that yet, though.
Remove yourself. No. This is unacceptable.
OK. Bruce, different opinion or the same opinion?
I think the fact that there's flatmates involved, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
These people, really, they can't live on their own.
OK, very weak. Right, we're coming from a very moralistic approach tonight. Let's have another dilemma. This one's from Rowena. And Rowena says, I bought my partner an air fryer for his birthday. Oh. Now he's saying the sparkle has gone from our relationship. Is an air fryer really that bad? Can I just say, Rowena, I was sceptical about the air fryer, but when I got an air fryer, it changed my life.
I hear you.
Aren't they wonderful? Yeah.
I think they're amazing.
They're brilliant.
Yes. So why would it suck? I mean, they're not sexy, to be fair.
What, air fryers?
Yes, I mean,
I think if you're trying to get off with kitchen appliances, you have a bigger problem than worrying about your relationship and the sparkle going out of it, in all honesty.
Why would that...
And I would like to know what kind of air fryer it was. Was it a Ninja? Was it a 2-drawer? Was it a 9-in-1? Could it dehydrate? Well, you know, there's a whole load of information we're not being given
And
here.
maybe their relationship would be better if she'd gone for a better air fryer. You know, maybe that's the issue here.
Yeah, the one that you can do the chicken in, like, 40 minutes.
Those are amazing. I'm not even vegetarian, but I'll do a chicken in one of those just because I love seeing it at work.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
we all love
exactly.
a chicken.
What do you think about that?
I think that it's sad that she bought him this really thoughtful, beautiful present.
Yes.
Because you can make so much food. And you know how, like, they say that, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yes.
You can make beautiful food in the air fryer.
Yeah, and isn't it awful that she's, you know, going through this now?
I just think he's very ungrateful. What she should do is take the air fryer and smash it over his ungrateful head.
So, very interesting that we've approached it in this way.
Domestic violence.
OK, well, I'm sorry for the advice this week. We're normally a bit more positive than this, but thank you for joining us for Free Speech Nation. This was the week when mermaids failed to deprive LGB Alliance of its charitable status, eco-activists gate-crashed George Osborne's wedding, and the Mayor of London decided that cakes were problematic. Thank you ever so much to my panel, Diane Spencer and Bruce Devlin, and to my guests, Katharine Birbalsingh, Bev Jackson, Kate Harris, Sarah Fillimore, Andrew Lawrence and Alka Sagel Cuthbert. And by the way, if you want to join us live in the studio, be part of our wonderful audience, you can do that. Just go to www.sroaudiences.com. Come along, we've got food, we've got wine. Apparently the white wine isn't chilled. We've had some complaints tonight, but it will be by next week, I promise you that. So apply there. Stay tuned for the brilliant Mark Dolan. That's coming up right after the break. And don't forget that Headliners is on every night. That's the late night paper preview show where comedians take you through the next day's top news stories. Thanks for watching. Farewell.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, it remains unsettled, low pressure in charge of our weather. We'll see showers and longer spells of rain over the coming days, and it will turn a little cooler as well. And we can see that area of low pressure just being sat to the west of us, but it does start to push eastwards over the next few days, increasing the risk of some longer spells of rain, some heavy showers continuing as well. Today's heavy showers will fade away through the evening time, and then overnight it will be largely dry. Plenty of clear spells, but then later on we could start to see some showers moving back into southwestern areas. The risk of some patchy rain across the far north of Scotland too, and under the clear spells in towns and cities, temperatures around 14, 15 degrees, a little fresher in the countryside. So for most on Monday morning, it's a bright start, plenty of sunny spells, but the clouds gather from the southwest with outbreaks of rain quickly pushing into parts of the West Country, Wales, pushing its way northwards as we move through the day. Some of this rain could be heavy at times. Around it, we'll see sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Best of the sunshine towards southeast England here, highs of 23 or 24. Generally the high teens to low 20s elsewhere. If you're stuck under the rain, it'll be quite a chilly feel. That rain pushes northwards and fragments as we move through the evening, and then further rain pushes in from the southwest as we move through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Some of this rain will also be heavy. So quite a lot of cloud around means temperatures again holding up in the mid-teens to take us into Tuesday morning, which will be a bit of an unsettled start to the day. Showers and longer spells of rain, but I'm hopeful as we move through the day we will see more in the way of sunny spells developing, but again some of the showers through the day on Tuesday could be heavy, perhaps more focused across the north and the west of the UK, and temperatures under the cloud a little disappointing for the time of year. Staying unsettled over the next few days, further showers and temperatures around average.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.